Hello, this is Patches from Turtle Moon Command Center, and I'm going to go over how to generate your art for NFTs using our fork of Hashlips art engine and then minting them with our Turtle Moon tools onto the Hedera testnet. First, you're going to want to go to the link in the description for the GitHub of our fork of Hashlips art engine. Click over here and download the zip file. You're also going to want to have installed Node.js on your computer and Visual Studio Code or some IDE or integrated development environment for you to run the code. We recommend VS Code. After you download the zip file and unzip it, you want to open up the folder that has the contents, and it should look like this in your little flyout. And then we're going to look right at the config first for some updates I did to these to this repo today. Starting at the top of the file, the first thing we see is layer configurations. This is what dictates your mapping to your layers folder over here. So when you update and you have different layer names, you're just going to want to, add another layer and say there's background 2, add a folder over in layers, put background 2, and then put in the art layers that make sense for that. The grow addition size to is the number of generations. So if you're doing 10,000, you would put 10,000 up here. We're just going to do 5 for the tutorial. And I'm not going to go much more into depth of the Hashlips functionality. There are a lot of tutorials out there that will help you understand in different YouTube videos. But this tutorial is mainly about using this Hashlips after you understand the layers and everything to get the export and then minted onto the Hedera network. So here are some updates for the Hedera schema. Schema is really just a term for the structure of your NFT to make sure it's easily viewable by wallets and marketplaces in the future. So first, the creator, we have Turtle Moon. This would be, let's say HCraftPunks, and whatever the name of your project is. Category, we use digital art for HCraftPunks. You could be collectible art, document, music, photo. These are some nothing's really standard yet, but these are some suggestions of a good standard that we have or other if it doesn't fit. The maximum supply, so HCraftPunks, there's 8,192. That's what I have in as default, but again, if you're doing 10,000, update this number to 10,000. Royalty percent, it's the total percent of royalty on the token. So let's say you have 2.5% going to one wallet ID and 2.5% going to another. In this tutorial, I will show how you do that on the minting process. But in this stage right here, you want to add those up. So if it is 2.5 to 2 wallets, put 5%. And the reason is that this is going to go onto the mint as the total. So say there's one of your NFTs on a marketplace, they can look at the metadata and say, if you buy this token, there's going to be 5% royalty fee. And they don't really care which wallet it goes to. They just want the consumer to know how much royalty fee there is on it. Now, if we look at the description, I have auto-generated a description, so you don't have to think about it. I just take the creator name, and I'll put is, I don't think R makes sense, a collection, and then max supply. So HCraftPunks is a collection of 8,192 randomly generated NFTs. That makes sense. I really think you should build your own description, make it personable, and I would recommend that you build a description of your project and not of the specific NFT, mainly because when someone, say again, there's one on a marketplace, it's good. It's a good place to inform the potential person who's going to buy your NFT about the project and different things about it, of what are your plans for utility and things like that. So a description is always good, and then it'll go on all of your mints. You can skip over shuffle layer, and then the other thing we have is use additional data. On HCraftPunks, what we did is we actually had unique names for every punk, and the way we did that is in the added sequential data.js file. We had names in an array. This is what an array looks like if you're not technical. And it will add, as it goes through each generative art, it will add a unique name to the JSON, which is the way that your image or your data will be saved on the NFT and then will be displayed to users later. So if you have any data that makes sense to be unique per object, that is how you would get it done in our fork. And again, all these technical terms, our fork is just the Hashlips, our engine for Hedera, that is located here. And so we're going to set that to true so I can show you how that looks like in the actual output. And then down here, the format, this is just how big you want your image. 18 or 1080 by 1080 is pretty typical. And you don't really need to do anything down here anymore. This is the main things are right here that you want to adapt. So now that we have all of that done, if you don't have a terminal in the bottom, just go up to the top. I am on I am on a Mac, not Windows. So you can go and hit New Terminal, and then you just click Hashlips Art Engine. You might just have a Hashlips Art Engine. I have _ Hedera. And then now your terminal is going to be talking to this project in the right place. So all you're going to have to do is type in node index.js. Then you're going to start seeing some words get chunked out. This is the program going through and generating the art. And as you see, it has 4 more left to do. Now it has 3 more, and it's just going through and generating them. Now, if we go up to our build folder and look at the images, this is the art that was generated. All of these layers are default example from Hashlips, so we didn't change that. But the more interesting part is the JSON. So if I go to the first one, we can see our creator Turtle Moon, category digital art, the name Kyle in the first JSON matches up with Kyle in the first of the array. So that's a good example. So if we go to 3, it's going to be Emily as name, and it is. And again, so each of these NFTs have a different unique name. And that's, again, that could be something in your description, that could be something in your properties that you would like to be unique, but we have that functionality there for you. The other, we have the royalties, so that's in there. Properties, so if you do have something extra, and I apologize, I probably should have done this in the first part. So say in HCraftPunks, we did have something called extras in our metadata, and this was so we could easily tell if it's a zombie or a negapunk. So if I go and I rerun node.index.js, it's going to regenerate all of these. You can see it go through. And now I come back here and we're going to see properties, extras, zombies. So these are properties is for more macro things, such as the category of zombies is going to help us say later only zombies can get access to some part of a video game we would make. 100% hypothetical, but now it's easy for us to understand that this NFT has that feature instead of having to go through an attribute tree. That's just an example, so I'll just take that out. And so if we go to main.js, down to line 115, this is the metadata. You don't really have to know or open this up, really. The main thing is if you do want to change this added data and it's not name, you would just update this line and then put it somewhere else. So if we didn't use additional data, the name is just going to be, let's say again, HCraftPunks is the creator, number 1, number 2, number 3, HCraftPunks number 4. So we do have a default name in there for you. If you don't want your creator name, then you would just come in here, just delete that, fill this in, and then it's just going to be number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's pretty much everything we need to do in Hashlips. So we're going to go over to Turtle Moon minting tools. So here, again, the description will have a link to Turtle Moon minting. It's the same process. You got to download the zip file, and then you're going to open up the folder. You can right click and hit add folder to workplace. I already have it here. So we're just going to add our terminal, Turtle Moon minting. I'm going to type in npm run, npm install. I apologize. You absolutely have to do that for both of these, npm install. I'll put a disclaimer in a bubble for the beginning in the Hashlips art engine, but this makes all of the packages that the program needs to run pull from the internet and put it on your computer. So I'll have a little disclaimer on the art engine for the tutorial so that you don't wonder what's going on. But npm install, usually when you download anything that uses has a package.json file like this, you're going to need to run this first. I don't need to run it because I've already done that earlier. So I'm just going to go run electron :start, and it's going to open up and create the desktop application of Turtle Moon minting tools. So the other thing that what will happen if you do that right away is it's going to break and say there, you're missing some keys. So you're going to want to hit Control C and kill the process. And if you come up here and look at env example, you're going to want to, this should not be here. I'll remove this. This is not used in the project yet. But you're going to want to update your account ID for the mainnet and your account ID for the testnet, and then your private key for the mainnet and the testnet. You do need a wallet ID and a private key to mint on the main and testnet. It's easy. Portal.hedera.com is an easy place to go get your testnet account. Very simple to sign up. And then you can put in your testnet private key and your testnet ID here to be on the testnet. I'm not going to show you my M file because it has my actual keys, but this is the format that you need to do to make your Turtle Moon tools work locally. So I'm going to run Electron again. And now with your updated credentials in this file, it will work. And as a note, if you ever update this file, you must kill the process again with Control C and restart Electron. Otherwise, it won't read those updates. It needs to be rerun again if there's any change in that file. That's just a good piece of information to have later when you're wondering why, oh, I put in my ID, but it's not working. Awesome. So over here, we're going to, this is a major update of the alpha where I've removed all exact minting as their SDK is down, and only Hashlips minting is functional anymore. So the name, let's just say test, testing, how about that? The token symbol is test. So I guess for a better kind of example, let's just use hgraph since that is the project Turtle Moon has created. Our token symbol is HGP, something short. That's good. Max supply, because we're only doing 5, I'm going to put 5. This is a new addition here, number of royalty accounts. So if I hit 2, I can then put in 2 royalties. If I hit 3, I can then put in 3 royalty accounts. And the benefit of that is, again, if you have, let's say, 3 accounts that want a section of royalties, we can now easily, I'm going to put in the account ID here, and let's say they get 2%, this account ID. And then I'm going to take another account ID here, and I'm going to say they get 2%. And then I'm going to get a third account ID, and I'm going to put that here, and I'm going to say, well, they get 0.5%. So maybe this is a charity wallet or just another creator, and you can split it up. If you have 4 founders, you can put it up into their personal wallets. However you want to divvy up your royalties will work this way now, and this can go up to 10. It's limited by the network, but 10 is the maximum. And then you have your treasury account ID, your auto renew ID. These will be what you sign with. You can change these, but at the end, I believe whatever your treasury ID is will be the ID or the private key you've used. So another way to say that is if 7.1, if this was your account ID you were given on Hedera.portal and that's the private key you're using, that's eventually going to turn into your treasury account ID. And I try to inject them for you so you can see that these are the private keys that I'm using. So these are going to be the ones that will be there. If you update this, it will not update that because the network works that way where whatever private key signs it is the treasury ID. So that's just some knowledge there. And then the fallback fee, this is the amount of HBAR you want if, say, someone just sends your NFT one person to the other and no HBAR is transferred. So no one sells it for any amount of money. There's something called a fallback fee that will get engaged where the buyer will pay 5 HBAR to receive that NFT so that the creators still get something. From there, we now just need to go to the directory of the images of the Hashlips output. So you're going to just want to navigate to your Hashlips output, and I'm going to go to the images folder, and you can see there's 5 files. So it's those 5 that we just minted. And then I'm going to go to the JSON folder and select the JSON file, not the individuals, but this is actually an array of all of them together, and this is what we want for the program. I look at everything and I like this. I'll come back and explain what this is, but right now we're just going to ignore minting on a token ID, and I am going to click Mint Collection. Now, you should have this window come up when you run Electron Start. Unfortunately, I don't have this readout yet over in the actual program. So what we're looking at now is these are the uploading of your images to IPFS. So we have successfully uploaded these 5. We created a token on the Hedera testnet. We got transaction receipts, which is going to give us all of this good information. It minted tokens on that token that we created. So first you create a token, and then you mint the metadata on it. And that metadata, again, as reference, is this is being minted on our token ID. So first we create a token. The token has all of these attributes, and this comes with one token ID. And then we take the metadata and continually mint on the same token ID new information and images that we would like our NFTs to have. So if we look over here, we can see a spill out of all of the links to our metadata in IPFS. IPFS is where we save our metadata. It's a decentralized node network of information. The image goes up there, and there's a whole, I'm not going to go into it, but that's where your image and metadata are saved. The token ID, this is the token ID we got back. So 0.0. This number is our token ID for our new mint. And then this is our supply key. I wouldn't usually, you don't want to really be sharing this with anyone if you are planning to mint more. And I'll go over that in a minute, but this is your supply key being spilled out for you. Now, if you scroll down, we can see that, what is this? I got to make this go sequentially, but right now it's sort of random. So if we find, what does this end in? 5.7. Here. So these are the ones we just minted. If I click, so this is our token ID of what we minted. There's 5 quantity. It's on the testnet. These are the NFT IDs of our mints. We minted 5. And then if we click IPFS, it's going to show us this is the metadata in IPFS of our NFT. So we can see compiler turtle moon tools. We can see supply is that supply number we have. Turtle moon is a collection of 8,192 randomly generated NFTs. Our description, the addition, our properties, extra zombies is there. So this is our data. Our minting is done. You have minted on the testnet that simply from, well, okay, from the data that you made in your ArtGen. So if you were to look this up in Dragonglass, which you could absolutely do, you would see these mints take place on it. So that's how simple it is with our tools that we've created. And there is some clunkiness to the UI, but this is still alpha and we're building it out. And just for some clarity on this final step, if we were to say, put our max supply of 10, and then we mint 5 on that token. So I'm going to do that now. If I just click mint collection again, it's going to do the same process with the same information. So I'm now minting on the testnet with the same files and the same metadata, and we can watch it. It's uploading all the images to IPFS, and then it's creating the token. It's getting the receipts so that we can get that information that's spilled out here at the end. And it's done. So this is the supply key. And if I come up here and say, I want to, I guess I have to look at what the token ID is. 7.5. There's 7.5. Here we go. Here's our new 5. If I want to mint more on here, I can because I have a quantity of 5, but I set the max supply, I guess, to 8. So all you would do is you would click I am minting more on on a token ID already created and put that into previous token ID. And then I would go into the scripts folder and token service, and I'm going to see supply key. So I would take this supply key that says equal private key generate, and I would change that to this. So all that's doing is saying, so it would be private key dot from string. So essentially, what happened is I made a token. The token allowed 8 mints on it. I put a supply key onto that token. That allows me to then re-mint on that token later by token ID with that key to say, I want to put on my last 3 because I only minted 5. And in another session 10 days later, I want to mint 3 more different images on that same token ID. The way you do that, again, is by selecting this and putting in I am minting more on the token ID already created and putting in your token ID, and then updating this line to supply key equals private key dot from string and the string. I'm going to double check. I apologize. This wasn't really in my wasn't in my script, but mint existing token ID from string raw data logo. Yeah, so that's not going to work. So you actually come up to line 57 in token service, and you just put the it's gone now, but you put that string that came out and put it here for the supply key. I apologize for how clunky this is, but this tutorial is quite long and I'm not going to start over. So I hope everyone watches all of it. This will put the supply key on when this isn't checked, which isn't what we want. So I'll just back that up after. But the important part is that you can, through some hacking, make this work. Again, in future alpha versions, we will make this smoother. But hopefully this tutorial did get you past being able to actually generate your art, being able to then use that generative art to mint on the testnet, and then all you have to do to mint on the mainnet is click that over and really, really, really make sure that everything you have in here is what you want, and make sure that you have enough HBAR in your treasury account to pay for the mints. If not, you'll get an error. And again, you'll see all of the errors and stuff in this developer tools console. So make sure you have this open to both see what's happening on the network and then all of the information that we're trying to spill out. And you can kind of disregard some of these warnings like these, but the information that we were looking at earlier is very helpful through this process. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you create some very cool NFT projects.